It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks for joining us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante. Interesting show for you today. You know, in our society sometimes we see a lot of things that break our hearts, particularly when it comes to young children. Some of them are abused, some of them are mistreated. And thank God we have agencies throughout the country that are able to help. Today, we're going to talk about CASA of Luzerne County. What's CASA? It's court-appointed special advocates that help these children who have been either neglected or whatever the case may be. I'm very happy to have on the show today the Executive Director, John Aciukewicz, and the Program Director, Ellis. We'll talk about this. Now, folks, I want you to listen to this because it may affect you or it may affect some people that you know. This is Luzerne County. John, thanks for coming on the show. Annie, thanks for coming on the show. All right, CASA. Now, the first time, as I said, it's court-appointed special advocates. Let's go back in history. Let's talk about, you know, how this CASA, because we're looking at 70,000 advocates throughout the country, okay? 900 local programs, and this is a Luzerne County program. What is it?
So first of all, we're a nonprofit child advocacy organization. CASA, the program nationally, was developed by a judge in Seattle, Washington in the mid-late 70s. He sat in on these cases known as dependency court. Children coming before him suffering from abuse and neglect and having to make the decision about their permanency. Should they be returned home, adopted, placed with a fit and willing relative? So he felt that he wasn't getting enough information about these children and their circumstances and the services that they needed in order to make a decision for their best interest. So he developed the idea of court-appointed special advocates, which is almost hard to believe that 40 or so years later, it evolved into a national program, as you mentioned, 900 programs throughout the country with about 70,000 volunteer advocates. CASA did not come to Luzerne County until 2012. We had our first training class in 2013, and I would like to thank both Judges Tom Burke and Tina Gartley because they secured the initial funding through a grant from the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency that allowed CASA to come into Luzerne County.
So the development was from this judge you said in Seattle, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you say advocate, all right, which you are an advocate as well as a program director, what is the process here? Okay, of how does a person become an advocate? What does an advocate do, and how does that help society?
I'll talk a little bit about, I think, the process.
Yeah.
Annie can tell you about her experience as an advocate shortly after that. I'd also want to mention that, the court-appointed special advocate was also recognized by the legislature in Pennsylvania in the mid-1990s. So the authority for court-appointed special advocate originated in the legislature, and the intent behind the program is to allow the advocate who's appointed by the judge to have access, complete access to all information to the child, so that each time the case is reviewed by the judge every 6 months, a report is issued, testimony is offered regarding that child's circumstances, that child's needs, that child's interest, to help the judge make a decision as to what's in that child's best interest. So Annie can share some of that experience. However, what does that really look like when you're an advocate for a child?
Okay, how did you become involved in this, Annie?
I actually saw a PSA on television and thought, I think that's an idea whose time has come, and I think that's something that I could maybe be good at. We appreciate the opportunity to be here today because I feel that most of your viewers were like I was some 3.5, 4 years ago, completely unaware of the existence of this organization, but more importantly, completely unaware of the need. There are over 500 children right now in Luzerne County that have been adjudicated dependent and are most likely placed in foster care. So I went through the process, I went through the training. The training is approximately 35 hours of classroom training. We train according to national CASA standards, best practices. and I was sworn in as a court-appointed special advocate. Part of our training is courtroom observation, observing an actual dependency hearing in front of the judge, so that we get kind of a working knowledge of how that goes. As I was observing the case that I was observing, I was with my supervisor, and the judge ordered that a CASA be appointed from the bench. And my supervisor asked me if I would consider taking that case. That case was a little boy who at the age of 9 was so severely beaten by his mom that when he got to school one morning, his teacher called 911. He was taken out of the home and she went to jail. So by the time I met him, he had obviously already had his worst day. He had been adjudicated dependent and placed in foster care. So with my order to appoint, that allows me to have access to the child in their environment and also everything else involving the child, his education, his therapy, his doctor records. So for an advocate, once you're sworn in, you know, the most important thing is to form a trust relationship with that child so that that child knows that you're in there for them. The first time I met the child, I simply went to the home for a visit. I had introduced myself via telephone to his foster mom, explained my role. And when I got there, you know, of course, he would do anything except look me in the eye. You know, he was shy and he was probably not okay with his situation. And I was another stranger coming into his home. I met him, I introduced myself. I said, I can be here for 5 minutes or 5 hours. It's entirely up to you. But I want you to know that I am a volunteer advocate. And that's 2 words for a simple concept. Volunteer means I'm here because I want to be. Anytime you see me, it's because I want to be here. And advocate means I'm here for you.
Okay. So now, John, let's go back a little bit here, because when you're talking about people's lives, particularly young children's lives. When you need medical help, you go to a doctor who has been trained. You need a lawyer, you go to a guy like John, okay. So how do we know what the person is who is becoming an advocate? What is the background? What's the ability? Because you'll be dealing with people's lives here, okay? And I don't envy anyone. I know we're looking for advocates, and God bless you, believe me, because, you know, I'm a pro-life guy, okay? And I, you know, from the minute a person's created, you want to see that child live and grow. Sure. And now you have, when they are, you have these sad things, and I could assume you could tell us stories that would make our hair stand up, okay? So what are some of the things here, John?
It's a great question, and that's part of what we do as the staff. From the beginning of someone's interest, they would first attend an information session to learn more about our program and becoming an advocate. If they remain interested in becoming an advocate, we will send them an application that they would complete online. It takes about 1 hour to give us the opportunity to get to know a little bit more about that particular person. Once they've submitted the application, we'll review it, and if they pass that initial hurdle, we'll then invite them in for a one-on-one interview.
Okay.
Once we've completed that hour or so interview, they must complete all criminal background checks.
Okay.
They must also provide 3 references from non-family members. Again, if all those stars have aligned, that person will then be invited to one of our training sessions, which we do in the fall or spring. As Annie mentioned, it's 35 hours, it's 9 weeks, it's a significant commitment of time. And then we evaluate that person's participation in training at the conclusion of the 9 weeks. And if they still want to become an advocate and we feel it's a good fit for our program, they're then sworn in by the court to become an advocate. So it's a very lengthy process. It's also, we do our due diligence.
How many advocates do you have right now in Luzerne County?
We currently have 17 in our fall training class. So when they complete training, in fact, tonight, and they'll be sworn in on December 18th, we'll now have 70 advocates, okay, which is good, right? Because 3 years ago we had 18. The challenge, however, is, as Annie mentioned, there are more than 500 Luzerne County children in foster care. And you know, what we believe is the strength of the CASA model is that when the judge appoints an advocate, that advocate is appointed to one case and one child or sibling group. It's almost a one-to-one relationship. Because the research is clear that children experience trauma, not only when they experience abuse and neglect, but they experience trauma when they're removed from their home and placed in foster care. So, but the research is also clear that when you have one trusted, dedicated, committed adult in that child's life, during this most difficult period the child's experiencing, that can make a difference in that child's ability to become resilient and rebound. So that's what we believe that we offer, that one-to-one relationship with a trusted, committed adult, because these children on average are going to be in foster care for about 1.5 years. And the expectation is that a volunteer is going to see that child at least twice per month and invest 10 to 12 to 15 hours per month, not only with the child but with the case, and get to know that child better than any other participant in the child welfare system.
John, how long have you been the executive director?
I'm starting my 4th year.
Okay. Annie, there's people out there that have a lot of talent.
Sure.
There are people out there that have so much talent, you know, and maybe someone are retired, maybe some want to do something like you did. Are there any age requirements here to be an advocate?
You must be 21 years of age or older.
Okay.
There's not really an upper age limit. We have an advocate now who I think may be close to her 80th birthday or even beyond. She's a wonderful advocate
yes.
because she's actually a retired school psychologist, and she advocates for 2 little set of twin girls who are about 3 years old, and she's a very grandmotherly type. But in addition to that, in addition to forming that trust relationship with the child, the most important thing that we do is make considered recommendations to the court about what we believe is in that child's best interest. So at the time of a hearing in the dependency court, usually before Judge Jennifer Rogers, our advocates are asked to submit a report prior to the hearing to kind of give a history and really pinpoint what their greatest concerns are for that child and what recommendations they can make so that that child can be improved. It's important to note, we don't provide any services. I'm not trained to evaluate or treat any mental illness or anything. We provide no services. What we do is make considered recommendations to the court about what we believe is in the child's best interest so that those services can be put in place, maybe ordered. Maybe it's a change in placement. Maybe it's additional services for the child who we may see struggling with the past trauma that has not yet been addressed. Those are the kind of recommendations that we make to the court.
When do you bring, if you have a child who has been abused and has a trauma, okay, you're saying you know you're not you're there as an advocate. Is this like a big brother, big sister situation?
I'm glad
John?
you asked that. It really isn't a big brother, big sister situation. We're not mentors. We don't bring the children home. We do spend time with them, of course, as John said.
You would spend time at foster care.
Yes, I would visit the child in foster care. I would go to the child's school, sit in on any educational meetings, maybe get records from the family physician if it's a young child to be sure that they're meeting their developmental milestones. School, home, activities, anything.
I find this interesting because here again, when you have a child who has this trauma, God knows what that child lived for in years. Okay, now the child is in foster care and they begin to get an advocate. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now the child begins to develop a trust. Okay, and when they develop a trust, then sometimes the child begins to tell you things that were not said at court.
Right.
Folks, I'm talking to John Aciukewicz. I say that right? Okay. Slovak and Polish, okay? Couldn't be like Italian, you know, like Linguini or something like that. He's the executive director of CASA. Interesting, folks. Phone number is 855-2247. The website is luzernecasa.org. I know there's a lot of you who will have a lot of talent. You can really help these young people. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what happens then through the development here. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember 24/7 SSPTV.com. Many of you want to know what happened to our app. Well, we did away with the app only because our website is so easy to see all of the programs we produce, the 31 local neighborhood shows we produce. I want to thank all of you who enjoyed our anniversary show. We're still running it, 25 years, and servicing now over 250,000 households, my friend, all with local programming. So once again, it's SSPTV.com. Now, for many of you who live out of the state or whatever, just go to YouTube, Google SSPTV, and you can watch all our shows anywhere in the world. My guest today, John Aciukewicz, who is the executive director of CASA of Luzerne County, and also Annie Ellis, who is a program director, also an advocate. Okay, CASA is essential to fulfilling society's most fundamental obligation by making sure a qualified, compassionate adult will fight and protect a child's right to be safe, to be treated with dignity and respect, and to learn and grow in the security of a loving family. We talked about big brothers, big sisters. Is it like a similar situation, John?
I just wanted to follow up on that question and Annie's point. What we always bring people back to is the fact that our advocates are, first of all, appointed by the judge. So in a sense, the advocate is an independent voice for the court. And in addition to, as Annie said, spending time with the child, these cases are reviewed by the judge. By law, they're required to be reviewed every 6 months. So the advocate is going to submit a report and testify. And I think that's an important distinction, obviously, from big brothers and big sisters that I wanted to share with you. But I also don't want to discourage viewers from thinking, oh, well, then I must have to be either an attorney or a paralegal to be an advocate. None of our 70 advocates are lawyers or paralegals. You know, some of the most important characteristics that we are looking for is, you know, do you have a desire to want to make a difference in a child's life? Are you able to commit 12 to 15 hours per month? Are you able to communicate with others? Because, you know, your range of conversations will go from testifying in court to talking with foster parents, birth parents, teachers, caseworkers. So it's the ability to collaborate with others, all, again, for the best interest of permanency for a child and improving and changing that child's life.
So you become an advocate, the judge appoints you, and then they have a case, and that case now, you have that case. How do you start?
Well, our order to appoint, as I said, gives us broad latitude into the life of a child. We're able to obtain records, have access to meetings. We're invited to meetings. For example, if a child is struggling in school with truancy, we would attend meetings at the school, we would attend IEP meetings. But really, on day one, you know, we as a staff take a look at any referral, any child that is referred for an advocate to be appointed, and we make as good a match as we possibly can. I can't make the perfect child or the perfect advocate, but we make as good a match as we can. And we found that by doing that, by asking our potential advocates from the time we meet them, what are your interests, what's positive for you in your life, what do you think you would be good at, conversely, what would you not be so good at, that we can, you know, make a pretty good match. For example, there are a lot, the gender of the children that we advocate for is pretty much 50-50 male to female. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of male advocates. Volunteering is, you know, kind of a different, for whatever reason.
The question sometimes, I know there's people out there that want to help.
Sure.
Okay, but then you would think, well, geez, what am I getting involved with here? Okay, how, you know, really, am I going to be able to that? Do I have the qualifications? And I do want to help. You know, I want to do. You know, I'd much rather give you a $100 donation, which you'll certainly accept.
Sure.
Okay, but how do we convince that person, okay, who has that talent, like you, okay, to say, you know, let me do this? So. Because you're dealing with, you know, like you said, you're developing, you know, a child's life here, you know. How many foster children have you been advocates for so far?
So I right now advocate for 2 young children. I have completed cases on 2 other children, both teenagers. So
how long did you have them?
2 years each. Okay. Yeah, 2 years each. And they overlapped a little bit.
Did you, a stupid question, but did you see significant improvement?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So I can tell you the little boy that
I know it's a dumb question. But
no, it's not. No, I appreciate it actually, because it's so important for people to understand the impact, right? Impact, you know, everybody wants me to measure impact by percentages and numbers. Really, I think impact is a story. And, you know, the little boy that I described who was abused by his mom, after almost 4 years in the dependency court system, was adopted by his very loving foster mom, and he's doing great. I got a text from him not too long ago that said, Annie,
how old is he?
He's 14 now. Okay. That said, Annie, I hope you don't mind. I used your name as a reference. I'm going to be a junior volunteer firefighter for my service project, right? So that's a kid who really didn't have a whole lot of much going for him. That, you know, we've successfully navigated the system all the way through to permanency, which is the goal. And that's important because about a month after he was adopted, I spent the day with him. And I, you know, obviously he was doing great. And I asked him to speak a little bit about that. And he said, you know, for those 4 years, I lived in fear that I would be taken out of my home at any time. And I don't have to live that way anymore. I have a home, and this is my home.
And I'm sure of the 70,000 advocates we have in this country, I could just multiply that by so many young people that they may will affect, okay? How do you encourage, John? Okay, I know there's tons of people that can certainly be advocates that are watching my show, and and they're good people, particularly seniors. Okay, seniors have so much knowledge in their life. Okay, I think that I said at the recent talk at Mohegan, well, if you want to have answers to questions and solve the country's problems, talk to seniors.
Sure.
They've lived it. How do you get them to be convinced that they can do that, John?
Well, I think it all begins with the desire to want to make a difference and to want to help. So I would just encourage people to participate in the process. Come to an information session. Our next one is going to be Monday, December 2nd at 5 o'clock at our office. Next, if they like what they hear and still have interest, apply. And take the next step in the process, be interviewed. Walk the steps with us to do your due diligence and discern if this is the right opportunity for you. Or they may know of someone that they think would be a great fit. So they might suggest to a friend or relative, you know what, I've just heard about this program. Why don't you go on their website and look into it further? So just take one step at a time is what I would suggest to people.
Now, folks, he mentioned some dates. As you know, I play the show a number of times. So if you're listening to the show and it's December or January, you always have training sessions. And if you go to LuzerneCasa.org, I'm sure you have the listing there. And the phone number is 855-2247. Because what I do is show like this we're running now, but I'll run it a number of times, in the first quarter of 2020. I'd like to sometimes, I don't know if they would be willing to do that, but some of the people that you've been able to work with that have so-called graduated or whatever, to be able to come on a show and say, this is what the advocate did for me, if they're willing to, because now you're hearing it from a young person themselves, okay? And I'm sure you could tell me 1,000 stories, but when you see the results of what the talent you could do, it really becomes really great. Don't you think so, John?
Absolutely.
Oh, for certain. But it's always a challenge, to get someone who's gone through something really difficult to now want to share that publicly. So
I think that young boy, that 14-year-old boy, would be willing because he lived it and he could tell a story. So now, of course, you become involved after when they're in court. So
Correct.
You have nothing to do if someone's getting abused. You don't have the parents call you. They have to go to the due process,
That's
right?
right.
Is that how it works, John?
yeah, that's a good point, Sam. We do not get appointed to a case by the court until after there's been a determination of dependency. It's always been a determination that child has suffered abuse or neglect. We don't make that determination.
Working with the young people, I commend anyone who's doing that, okay? And I just hope for all of you who are watching, I know there's so many of you out there that can really help because of the knowledge you have, and give it a shot. Give John a call at 855-2247, 570, of course, or LuzerneCasa.org. Share that talent just to see you can help a lot of young people. Before I close, I want to tell you, we're very fortunate to have the judges that we have. That we have Jennifer Rogers, we have Tom Burke, we have Tina Gartley, plus the other judge. But these are the basic judges that you deal with.
Primarily Judge Jennifer Rogers, and you're right. Without the support of the court, without her support, it would be really difficult to have this program in our county. So we are very grateful to her and to the court.
Because Bill Ames he wants to take my job. Okay, great judges, really, and I want to compliment the both of you, and thanks for coming on. Tell Tina I appreciate the fact that she recommended you coming on. Okay,
Thank you.
You're always welcome to come on again. Next time you come on, bring a couple people that you've been able to help. Folks, it's called CASA. It's the court appointed special advocate. I know there's many of you out there that could really be of help. I know you could. Give John a call. Just say, John, just to get some information. You can help a lot of young people. We'll see you next time.